video, I want to talk a little bit about practicing by yourself and ways that you can get better without having the most amount of resources or without really having anyone around you. Ways that you can get better on your own time outside of whether it's your practice or whether or not you have immediate access to a coach or anything like that. And ways that you can find ways to better yourself in your free time so that you can use that time more efficiently and not have to be incredibly dependent on resources that are kind of out of your control. This video is incredibly important to me because it's someone that started off as debating with very few resources. It was all about how I could find ways to catch up to other people by understanding skills that I needed to get better on and finding ways to really target the places where I wanted to get better and more efficient. So this video will cover things like drills, advice, and other ideas that I have about ways in general that you can get better on your own time. So the first thing I think is incredibly important with thinking about how to get better is to always think about ways that you can study film. There are lots of debates that are easily accessible in places like YouTube or Vimeo that have access to different types of videos that you can watch in order to see debates happen. I think it's important to watch debates as a debater because it can allow you to see how debates happen at different levels, whether you're a high school debater looking at college or whether you're a college debater trying to understand what other successful college debaters have done to get better. I think thinking about how you can think about these rounds and think through the types of decisions and why people make the types of argumentative decisions they make can be incredibly helpful in how you start to make your own decisions. You can also see people read similar arguments, the type of arguments you're reading at a higher level, which can help you develop the skills and think about what ways in which you can make your argument better or more efficient. So when you're studying film, what does it look like to use that time efficiently? The first thing that you have to do is flow. This seems a bit intuitive that you should like float around as you're watching, but I think flowing can encompass a bunch of things. I don't think that you need to flow just making sure that you get every argument down, but utilize the fact that it's a video, right? So you can replay moments, you can redo speeches, and you can flow certain things. You can flow every cross section, you can flow certain times that people only do an impact debate, and you can really go in depth into the specific types of arguments and moments that are happening in debate. You can slow down and watch cross sections over and over again to figure out why they're asking particular questions, and you can try to find places where you can connect answers that they've made across sex to arguments that they've made in the speech and how they implemented the things that they saw in earlier parts of the debate. All of these things are places where you can kind of take tips to think about how you can focus on during particular types of debate. How does someone debate when they're in a particular type of situation? Like, what is the best way to respond to Framework and Cap, or what is the best way for Framework and Cap to respond to particular types of critical affirmatives? These things not only give you tips on what types of strategies you could reading, but it also allows you to practice different types of flowing, which can make you more efficient and better being better able to hear things like flow, spreading and increased speeds because you're getting more acclimated to being able to break down the types of words that people are reading at higher and higher speeds. You also want to write down an RFD before you hear the RFD that's on the video. If there's an RFD or that if there's an RFD that comes out, you always want to write an RFD before you know the result of debate because then you can think about the own type of decision making process that you would make if you were a judge. Putting yourself in the seat of a judge can be incredibly important because it allows you to do something that you are trying to get others to do, which is understand an argument, be taught their argument, and then figure out how to evaluate the argument in comparison to another argument. And walking yourselves through a debate and seeing how, as a judge, you would settle the different parts of debate can help you figure out how you should prioritize certain types of arguments in your own speeches. If you see oftentimes that teams are losing that aren't answering really in-depth questions about the role of the ballot and the role of the judge, then maybe that is a place where you should be focusing more of your arguments. Whereas if you're seeing a lot of teams are losing because they weren't able to contextualize their link argument specific enough, or the judges didn't understand the connection between their link argument and the other teams was making, and they wanted more example work, you can see the different types of situations that people are put in to try to teach different types of audiences their arguments. Then after you write down your own RFD, you should watch the RFDs if provided so that you can get insight not only into what specific judges are thinking, but also just how a judge in general would consider a debate. A lot of times in RFDs, judges will play off of each other's ideas or think through the different ways that judges thought about the debate. And that can be incredibly helpful in getting a diverse set of opinions in terms of what types of arguments you should be making and what the best steps are to make and how to better develop arguments that debaters in the debate weren't even thinking of. And so this allows you to then turn those speeches, it's turn the things that you took from the speeches that you watch and apply them into your own skills in terms of maybe you can create miniature speeches for yourself where you're able to apply the skills that you learned from the debate that you're walking in your own skill. Like, for instance, giving yourself just 3 minutes to do a full link wall that allows you to touch on every part of the link that you felt like was missing from those types of debates. Maybe if you can get a hold of the documents, the cards that were being read in that debate through the wiki or anything else like that, you can kind of walk yourself through the debate so you can better understand how arguments were developed, the type of evidence that is being read, and you can place yourselves in the situations that you're watching, which can be extremely helpful in better understanding and getting feedback and how you're making the arguments and what types of arguments that you're making, which is usually one of the biggest barriers to actually practicing by yourself. The next one is going to be probably the most intuitive out of all of them, which is to do speaking drills. I think almost every coach and everyone is kind of like constantly pushing speaking drills. And although I think there are certain drills like the pen and the mouth drill that aren't as extremely effective, I think that there is a way that you should understand the need or why speaking drills can be useful and the way that they can be useful. And then kind of my suggestion for the type of speaking drills that at least I use. So for my personal speaking drills, I go forward for 9 minutes. I go backwards for 6 minutes. I do an A in between each word for 6 minutes. And then I do a combined going backwards and A between each word for 5 minutes. And then finish with going forward for 10 minutes. Now, why do we do this? The forward for the first 9 minutes for me is just a warm up. That was the times that I was using in college. That was just time for me to read, like do a 1AC or something I was practicing, get used to reading a document that I might read all the time, a 1NC that I might read in a lot of debates, or one that I read in a debate where I felt like I could have been a lot clearer or better, or that I feel like I could have gotten a lot of more speaker points. And so it just generally is able to kind of like warm up the usual like muscles in your mouth and in your face that you're using when you're speaking. The backwards and the A drill and the combined drill, that kind of section of drills serves a similar purpose, which is to try to find your rhythm when you're speaking. The idea is that when you kind of do these things like being backwards and forcing you to break, not only are you forcing yourself to slow down to attempt to be clear because your brain is trying to process the idea that you're kind of reading words out of order and adding in words where there aren't words, but also the fact that you're able to kind of establish a rhythm where you're doing things like the A drill. You are basically trying to find a way that you can continually have a pattern of putting A on words, regardless of their syllables, in order to push yourself into a rhythm that can make it a lot easier for you to read faster, more efficiently, and clear. The more comfortable you are with that rhythm, the easier it will be for your brain to continue to kind of like process and get through words in a way that can make you a lot faster and a lot better. And so practicing the rhythm that you use in order to spread it in debate can be extremely useful. The next thing that I want to impress upon everyone is that you're always reading at some level, whether it be articles or books or news articles or academic articles. It's incredibly important for you to keep updated on either what is happening and whatever canons of study that you're reading, or to stay updated on the news in terms of what's happening in policy around the world, regardless of what type of argument you're reading, because the more knowledge you can bring in for the most relevant examples, whether it be historically or current, can be extremely useful in tipping or changing your debate. It's one of the ways that you can kind of use your own voice and use yourself as a source of evidence instead of having to rely on having a large amount of card cuts or having a large amount of evidence available to you or resources to cut those cards available to you, by just continually staying up on the things that are available to you. Things like Google Scholar and Google News can be really helpful in just bringing you news articles and putting articles in your face that give you relevant topics so that you can stay updated on, suggestions of other books that you should read or things that you should keep track of to help you be more familiar with things that other people are reading as well as the things that you're reading. It's important to read from a diverse amount of literature bases because it can help you better understand the arguments that you'll be making and the arguments that your opponent will be making. And the better understanding you have of your opponent's arguments, the easier it can be used to use their arguments against them. The last thing that I want to say is to give rebuttal redos, but I would say that there's a specific asterisk next to this form for rebuttal redo because I'm a firm believer in giving rebuttal redos with shorter time than the time you would have available in a debate. For example, try giving a 2AC in 6 minutes and 7 minutes instead of 8 minutes. Try giving a 1AR or a 2NR or a 2AR in 5 minutes and 4 minutes, 4 minutes and 3 minutes instead of the 5 minutes that you regularly have. This is important because it basically forces you to be more efficient and find only the most important arguments in your flow to answer while still getting to someone that will have more time or just as much time as you. Putting that type of pressure for you to become more efficient can mean that when you actually do get 5 minutes and when you actually do get the full time of a speech, you have a luxury amount of time that allows you to think about ways that you can flex arguments, make arguments sound a lot more coherent, and refocus and change timings that you have for different arguments in a way that's still comfortable for you. So the type of speech that you want to give can be more flexible in the places that you give time towards, contextually to what's happening in the debate that is happening, and while not forcing you to feel sacrificed or stressed about the types of decisions you have to make about which arguments you should keep or which arguments you should. Hopefully some of these tips are useful in ways that you can practice by yourself, and hopefully you'll be able to figure out some of your own drills that you can do for yourself in order to get creative and to get better on your own time. Thank you.